He made some very big mistakes. When he talked about the Libyan model for Kim Jong-un, that was not a good statement to make.
Earlier this week, Trump fired his advisor, John Bolton, making people happy, frankly. He's a known war hawk. He's one of the architects behind the regime change policy we've seen over the years. Syria, Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, that sort of thing. Go in and remove the person and everything will be fine. Not always the best choice. Costs a lot of lives and trillions of dollars, as Trump says. Reported that he and Trump did not see eye to eye on a lot of things, so they had to make a move. He probably wanted him to go to war a lot more than Trump says that he did. Because we don't know. Not for sure. They also reported that Trump made fun of him a lot, and John Bolton and him didn't get along with each other because of that. Here are some of the alleged quotes, which are pretty hilarious. First, according to Axios, in a meeting with the Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar, Trump turned to Bolton and said, "John, is Ireland one of those countries you want to invade?" Another quote that looks like it's from ABC News says, Trump said to him, "Let me guess, you want to nuke them all?" Trump constantly baited Bolton in front of media officials. Or maybe that's just Trump officials. Now here's some more of what Trump said, the rest of the clip from the beginning of what he had to say about John Bolton when asked why they parted ways, why he fired him.
I follow up on your decision yesterday with regard to Mr. Bolton. What led you to decide to part ways?
So, John is somebody that I actually got along with very well. He made some very big mistakes. When he talked about the Libyan model for Kim Jong-un, that was not a good statement to make. You just take a look at what happened with Gaddafi. That was not a good statement to make. And it set us back. And frankly, he wanted to do things not necessarily tougher than me. You know, John's known as a tough guy. He's so tough he got us into Iraq. That's tough. And but he's somebody that I actually had a very good relationship with, but he wasn't getting along with people in the administration that I consider very important. And I hope we've left in good stead, but maybe we haven't, maybe we haven't. I have to run the country the way we're running the country. We're doing very well. We're respected all over the world again. Respected like we haven't been respected in many, many years.
Now, if you're on the internets, mostly everyone agrees that the time has passed for the war guy. The time has passed for these constant wars that are clearly for underlying reasons that they don't want to tell us. Even Condoleezza Rice, who worked with Bolton, said this. I'm sure he did his best to give the president his unvarnished advice, which is what you're supposed to be, his national security advisor. But in the final analysis, if the national security advisor and the president are not on the same page, it's not the president who's going to go, and I'm sure that John understands that as a long-serving diplomat, long-serving policy expert. Then we move over to Tucker Carlson, saying it is great news for America, especially for the large number of young people who would have been killed in pointless wars if Bolton had stayed on the job. They may not be celebrating tonight, but they should be, said Carlson, noting the oil prices dropped on the news of Bolton's firing, since global investors knew for certain that Bolton planned on launching another Middle Eastern conflict that would inevitably spike energy prices. Now, just a little tidbit there, he's had some spats with Bolton on his show before that I encourage you to go look up. But then we switch over to Ben Shapiro's The Daily Wire headline, Bad Trump. President's dismissal of John Bolton is a capitulation to terrorist Iranian regime. And in the body of it, it says, boneheaded move. Bolton, who is infamously hawkish on the issue of jihadism and radical Islamic terror, strongly opposed the president's dovish overtures on the Taliban and Rouhani alike. Such opposition, even amidst the purported maximum pressure campaign, appears to have cost Bolton his job. Then we go to Ben Shapiro, the head honcho, himself on Twitter saying, this is terrible for the White House. Bolton was correct with the Taliban, state wasn't. Bolton has been a hawkish voice for a tough national security policy, and his ouster likely signals that Trump's approach will be significantly softer from this point forward. Now, what this says to me is that Ben Shapiro does not like that we won't be going to war with Islamic enemies. Now, if you want to know my opinion, I'm not a fan of these countries, but can we keep getting into these constant wars? The only successful one I can think of is Afghanistan, where we got, but the Taliban, and even still, the Taliban's back. You liberated a bunch of people when you went after Osama bin Laden. Was Iraq very successful? Unless your goal is to actually just have a military force in there forever, then I guess you could call that successful. But at what cost? Cost of millions of people's lives. Cost of, we all know the story. I don't want to get into an Iraq war thing, but Syria, Libya, it caused destabilization. And if those are your mortal enemies, then I understand that you're cool with attacking them. But at what cost is what I have to ask you. Idea changes is what I think will win the quote unquote war, the war of ideas. You just got to defeat them. And I think we're on our way to doing that. And I thought we were more of on our way to doing that a couple years ago on the internets. But at some point, people are going to understand that some ideas are worse than others, if you know what I mean. Now, Shapiro is becoming more of a mainstream Republican voice. And what I want to know from you is, do you think this is the right direction for people to go in? I don't like to choose Democrat or Republican, so to speak. I like to go where the ideas are, and I can disagree with Ben Shapiro or Trump on these things. But in my opinion, Ben Shapiro's views in general, I do like them. But sometimes in situations like this, it's like we're hearing from somebody who worked for George Bush in 2002, kind of like John Bolton. It's almost like the Daily Wire gained their fan base, and Trump's in power, and it looks like he's going to stay in power. So now they're revealing how they really feel about things, and it's more rhino-ish, more war hawkish things. Personally, I prefer Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire and a couple other their writers, but overall, their narrative that they've presented is very old school. It's very, I don't know, authoritarian Republican. It's not the new thing that people are doing. I don't know if it's left, right, or center, whatever you want to call it, the new wave of politics. It's not in line with that for me. It's not where I would want to see people go. It's just like if you just take Trump winning and everything, and all these people being voted in across the world, and you take that as a victory, the work doesn't stop there to make the world a better place. It's not just about gaining power. And when people talk about stuff like this on the Daily Wire, and they're just like, well, we need to keep these wars going to show that we're tough against Iran, then it just tells me that we're just headed in a direction back to where we were. And what we want is the honesty and the realism in politics and the actual issues, not just a return to what it was in 2003 or 2008 even. So let me know what you think in the comments, and remember that I wouldn't lie to you, except for maybe this once, and definitely not on the internet.